Even among fans of the genre, there's often a sense of superhero fatigue as more and more releases seem to tread the same ground year after years. As a result, it's hard for any to stand out, and even harder for them to get a theatrical audience when there simply isn't the same level of interest in these properties as there was 10 years ago. But there's always room for new and exciting ideas, and no character represents that better than the Toxic Avenger. Reimagined from the 1984 film of the same name by Troma Entertainment's Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Hertz, this new Toxic Avenger film follows a down-on-his-luck janitor blessed with amazing abilities he uses to save his home. Of course, these powers also come at a cost. As a result, he's horribly disfigured. But one thing that 2025's The Toxic Avenger captures so well is how humanity isn't naturally afraid of those who are different. As Toxie becomes a beloved member of his community, the hero has mopped his way back into the hearts of viewers with a remake that is just as good, if not better, than the original.
The Toxic Avenger honors the original in hilarious ways.
It's hard not to grade this new take on the Toxic Avenger without comparing it to the original. For starters, the story in this new film feels more tangible to its characters, whereas the original was simply a story of bad luck and circumstance that panned out at the end. While one isn't better or worse than the other, the new take is much more palatable for unfamiliar viewers who may not be ready for the raunchy irreverence of the beloved series. But there's also a larger message with this new film that makes everything work even more. Through the action of the Toxic Avenger, there's a lesson that even though corporations pollute the world, there's still hope, and all it takes to make a change is believing in one another and choosing to make a difference. While Toxie is much more violent than the average hero, his intentions are genuine, and it makes it hard not to love him. This also adds to the comedy of the film, as it calls back to how, in the originals, the Toxic Avenger seemed to always be the most self-aware person in a situation. As a result, there would be laughs at how he would acknowledge the strangeness of his situation. The same could also be said for this version, as there are more than a few moments where he is faced with weird or overly literal people who make life tedious, and he can't help but call it out every time. While the story doesn't follow the original film in the least, the new storyline, this one about a stepfather trying to be the best dad for his son, is the perfect foundation to tell a story about a violent hero who takes the fight to an evil company trying to destroy his community, which is something that feels fresh. It leads to a fun and deceptively heartwarming action movie with a perfect blend of humor, action, and splatter effects that make it bloodier than the average slasher movie without stepping on the toes of what came before.
The Toxic Avenger isn't the only fun character in the film. One of the most surprising things about the Toxic Avenger reboot, aside from the fact that it even happened in the first place, are the many talented stars who said yes to the film and cleanly had fun on and off set. First and foremost, there's Peter Dinklage in the role of Winston Goose, a janitor for the company whose toxic sludge would change his life forever. He's a nice guy, trying his best to be there and be a positive role model for Wade, the son of his deceased girlfriend. Their dynamic is unique and purposefully on the nose in terms of the struggles they face. But it works because it's so easy to feel bad for Winston. He's an unlucky person, and it's hard to see him fail, but it makes his successes even more fun to watch as a result. This also goes for when Winston becomes the Toxic Avenger. While Dinklage serves as the voice for the hero, the person in the suit is Luisa Guerreiro, a stunt performer who really owns the role of Toxie. Not only does she capture the sheer power the hero has with the swing of his mop, but her physical acting also leads to some hilarious moments. The physical humor of the Toxic Avenger can't be beat, and this is perfectly showcased by how well Guerreiro accentuates the movements of the character. Whether it's shock or anger, it's hard to sell the movements of a character who wears a massive prosthetic suit and dentures with only one human eye visible. Even still, Toxie is even more emotive than he was back in the 80s, and it makes for a version of the character that visually may be even better than what came before. Of course, a movie about a superhero would be nothing without its villains, and one thing the Toxic Avenger does exceptionally well is showcase detestable villains in hilarious ways. Kevin Bacon's Bob Garbinger plays a hammy business owner who is every bit as evil and as mustache-twirling as they come. Alongside his business associate, Kissy Sternovan, they are the perfect evil duo to face off against Toxie. However, if Bob is a Dr. Frankenstein of sorts, Elijah Wood's Fritz Garbinger is a perfect nod to Dwight Frye's Fritz from 1931's Frankenstein. As the manager of a gang/band known as the Killer Nuts, there's a lot of humor in seeing Wood as the annoyed mastermind ruling over bumbling villains.
The Toxic Avenger is a bloody good time.
The original Toxic Avenger was bloody, raunchy, irreverent, and downright hilarious. While the new version isn't nearly as raunchy, it has its fair share of shock humor and gore to make it a fitting addition to Troma Entertainment's long-running library of gross-out humor. The Toxic Avenger has everything for fans of this unique genre, and it's hard not to find the charm in it. Of course, it's not without its flaws. In the case of the Toxic Avenger, its biggest one is also its most technical. Dinklage's dubbing is often obvious when Toxie speaks. At its worst, this can take the audience out of the movie. All in all, The Toxic Avenger isn't a movie for everyone. It's ultra-violent, has some crude humor, and isn't afraid to go there. But for all of its gore and dark humor, there's a heart to the movie that's what makes it feel special in the first place. The Toxic Avenger is the superhero fans need now more than ever, because sometimes the justice that's needed is one that only the Toxic Avenger can deliver. The journey of the Toxic Avenger to release has been a complicated one. While completed years ago, it almost never got to be distributed at all. Now, it seems like the Toxic Avenger has become something of a miracle. And it's an even greater miracle that the movie is as fun as it is. Now, the only question that remains is if it has the makings to continue into a franchise. There's no denying that the fun of the Toxic Avenger practically begs for a sequel, and hopefully others will see it the same way. There's a new era of heroes coming, and it belongs to the Toxic Avenger. The Toxic Avenger hits theaters on August 29.